Hello and welcome to the Three Peaks Podcast, where we take a break from the hike of life and appreciate the views. Today we have a very special guest, Julia Deaver. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So we're just going to give you a quick moment to introduce yourself, tell us more about your career and some of your hobbies.
Okay, so I am an event producer and the co-founder of Utah's 40 Women Over 40. I am a cyclist enthusiast. I work for Delta Airlines as well. I have quite an extensive background of marketing and social media influence work. And I feel that my career really leads into the women empowerment movement with Silicon Slopes and everything else that I've done. So it's quite an extensive one, but my hobbies would include traveling. My children are not really a hobby, but that's a big part of my time off. Anytime that I have off, I try to spend with them. And hiking, traveling, seeing the world, eating great food, just living life to the best.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you were a co-founder of Utah's Women 40 Over. Could you tell us more about that?
Okay, so 40 Over 40 is really about representation for women in Utah specifically that are over 40. We find that there are more women, there are 68% of women that are starting businesses after 40. But yet in Utah, there is the biggest gender wage gap in the entire nation. And women's equality issues have been ranked at 50th of all the states. So Utah's ranked the lowest state for gender equality issues in general. So myself, Robin Cohen, and Diane Acevedo, my co-founders, we all decided to do something about it and really consider this as a movement and not just an event. We really view this as something that the discussion needs to take place. Women are re-entering into the workplace, and we need to represent all of the women, no matter what field, no matter what stage of life that they're in. And I think I realized it was a really big issue when I myself, as 42 years old, noticing that we really glorify women in their 20s and their 30s, but after that we kind of push them off to the side and we keep looking for the younger generation. But really we need to start noticing that women in their 40s, that's when I felt like life really began. And so that's really the time to celebrate the journey and not to really look towards there needs to be representation for older women to look to, instead of constantly looking at how can I be younger and just loving themselves as their age, loving themselves in their journey.
Yeah. And you also mentioned Silicon Slopes. Would you tell us a little more about that?
So we have the summit every year. And so what I do with them is I help to run the volunteers. And so we have, and you guys included, lots of volunteers that help us every year. And it's a phenomenal event. Used to be known as the Tech Summit, but now it's a well-rounded business summit. And every year here, and now it's in October. And so every year in October, the summit, and here in Utah, just celebrating the collaboration of all of the growth in the tech communities and all the business growth here.
Yeah. And at this event, you have many speakers coming in, offering out the knowledge and their experience through entrepreneurship and the ways they've been able to build and create their businesses. So one question I wanted to ask you is, how have you guys been able to orchestrate every single person coming in to Silicon Slopes to be interviewed and talk about their experiences on entrepreneurship?
Well, that's a great thing because there's a large team of people that put that together, and it takes a year to plan. And so as they work towards that, but really, I think the best thing I've noticed about Silicon Slopes in general is that a lot of people want to be there. It's not that they're searching for people to speak or searching for entrepreneurs to share their story. We have a really large community of people that are excited to share their story. They're excited to mentor. They're excited to talk about their business experience. They're excited to be involved in growing this community. The money that's created here, and if it stays here, it even grows even better. So that's a really important part of the community within Silicon Slopes, because as you know, it's really like the same idea of Silicon Valley, right? Yeah. It's not just the organization itself. It's really now becoming part of the identity of Salt Lake City all the way down the Wasatch Front, as far as the growth of what is available within the business and tech community here.
Yeah. And at the last event, you had a very special guest, Tim Cook.
Yeah.
He came to Utah for this event. So that must have been a big surprise. What I'm wondering is, how are you guys able to get that?
Well, I think that obviously the senator was the one who was able to invite him. And so I think that we have a lot of great friends here in Utah. And I think that when you really put it together and you have the right people asking for the right things, it's pretty easy. So I think that the impact that Utah is having is big enough that even Tim Cook himself would come here. That says a lot.
And at the beginning, you said that you're into marketing. And my question to you is, what is your creative process when trying to market a product?
Okay, so first of all, the first thing I'm going to ask about a product is, what is the experience around it? Because everything has an experience. There's not one product, including yourself, that can be marketed without creating an experience for it. What kind of, so if you're marketing yourself, for example, what kind of experience, what kind of dialogue, what kind of interactions do you want to have? What do you want the person to feel when they're interacting? That is the experience, right? What do you feel when you go to the Silicon Slopes Summit? What you're feeling is that experience. That's the marketing down right there. So we don't have to go out and market the event for us. Everyone who attends it markets it for us. Because it's such a wonderful experience. They want to come back and they want to bring their people. The best products, the best marketing is no marketing at all, because really what you're doing is you're creating such a great experience that the tribe, the community, the people, the experience itself is what they're searching for.
And with being in the career of marketing, you have to develop a certain type of skills so you can adhere to different types of audience that would like to be interested in the thing you're trying to sell. Right. So have you received any skills from mentors over the years?
Yes, of course. So like you said, you want to know your audience, but if you are trying to market a product that you're not familiar, comfortable, you're not even the target audience yourself, it becomes really hard. And so there have been times when I've done events or I've done products where I felt uncomfortable with it because it wasn't my passion, it wasn't my drive. So when I did an event for cryptocurrency and I did not feel connected to the brand, I didn't feel connected to what we were really pushing, and so it felt foreign to me. And that's not my way that I like to go about creating the marketing and the brand experience that I want to represent. But then when you're really connected to your brand, finding mentors is easy because you're already in that passion space, right? So if you're passionate about it, if you're seeking it, what you're seeking is also seeking you, right? So if I'm excited about women over 40, right? So this idea of communicating with that community to create an experience around women over 40, that's an easy experience because I know a lot of this community and I've seen these women succeed. I see the growth and the potential. And now it's time to have the conversation. All of the marketing, right? And you yourself. So you have to decide, what kind of mentor are you seeking? And then as soon as you decide what that is, be in that space, right? Like, what space do you need to be to receive that mentor? And find the people, ask them. The biggest thing is that you have to walk into the room knowing that you already have the ability to get what you need, and don't be afraid to ask. So many people are ready to talk and communicate and mentor because we see it as the developing of this community just as much as you do. So we're excited and we're eager for this community to grow.
So what made you want to be a marketer?
I don't know if I ever wanted to be a marketer. I think it came naturally. I think it was a natural, organic experience. I originally started off, I mean, my background is in human development. And then I received my cosmetology and aesthetics license here in Utah. And then I had 3 children. And getting into events was an organic experience. It wasn't until I was asked by my local church leaders to run an event for them. And it was a 500-person event. And I realized I really loved it. At that time, having 3 kids and just teaching aerobics was what I was focused on, and learning that that was something I really wanted to do. And that was now 15 years ago. And then how that organically evolved. It was one event sparking something inside of me and realizing, wow, that is a serious passion. And I loved it. And it was watching the experience of the children at that event and watching how it affected them. And it wasn't just going to be, it was actually a trunk or treat that I did. And it wasn't going to be just an average trunk or treat. It was going to be like the trunk or treat you'd remember your whole life.
Yeah.
So when you were 25 years old, you'd remember me and you'd remember that trunk or treat and you'd remember that experience because that was going to be that different for you. And when I realized in that moment that I could create that and I could watch these children's lives being changed by the joy, by the love and the community that they were feeling, I had to keep going. And then that evolved and evolved and evolved. You naturally learn what you're good at. And as you go through the process, you're also going to naturally learn what you're not good at and what you don't want to keep doing. And that's really important too, because when you're going down that path, don't be afraid to shift. And don't be afraid to shift major. Working for an airline was never on my radar.
Right. Yeah.
Never, ever. But after the divorce and after deciding that I need to own my freedom, I need to own my right to freedom as a woman and as a person, and that was a way that I could do it for myself. I was not going to be reliant or dependent on another, and that was a freedom for me. And so opening myself up to shifting into other areas, don't be afraid of that, because they're moments that give you elevation regardless of what vista you're on. All the vistas are beautiful. There is not one road out there that is going to be easy. If it's going to have an awesome vista, it's not going to be easy. You've got to climb to get to the top. And then once you get there, there's going to be another, finding that. So don't be afraid to shift.
We usually talk a lot about empowerment, and for some people, they can find it very difficult. So how have you found a way to empower yourself in every day?
Okay, I'm going to give you some super basic things that I can promise you work, but so many people don't do the basics, and that's why they find it hard, because your body can't move. If your body's not moving, your mind can't move, right? Like if you're stagnant, then how is your mind going to shift, right? And then you might think that it's shifting, but if you're constantly still. So I always tell people you have to exercise. You have to be your first advocate for exercising your body. Your body then exercises the mind. All of those hormones, endorphins, the chemicals, the oxygen, the freedom you feel when you're putting your body in motion is giving your mind the freedom to put your mind in motion. So basic exercise every day. I don't want to hear why can't we feel empowered when we're not even doing the basics. Eating healthy. That is so important. What you're putting into your body and into your mind, they're equally important. So eating healthy, exercising, making sure your environment is safe. It's positive. It's powerful. When my environment no longer felt safe for me, that's when I shifted my environment. And that was a really hard movement for me. I did not want to, I didn't want to do it for a long time. But when my environment felt like it was no longer a safe haven for me to grow, I needed to make that shift. So shifting, whenever that is. And sometimes you may say, I'm a kid, I can't shift my environment. But you know what you can do? You can go into nature. That's a shift of environment. You may not be able to shift where you're sleeping at night, but you can shift where you are in the day. You can shift where you are. You can take a walk. You can remove yourself from those situations, shifting, right? Getting into an environment where you're able to be clear-headed, not putting yourself in toxic environments or situations where you know that you're not thriving, right? So empowering yourself starts with basics,
Right.
I think, and then allowing yourself to be yourself, not
Yeah.
trying to be somebody else. Because every time you try to be somebody else, you're going to hit a wall. And then you're going to keep saying, why am I hitting this wall? And it doesn't feel empowering. Well, it doesn't feel empowering because you're imitating somebody else.
Right.
Your one job is to be the best you that you can be.
Right.
Not to imitate anybody else, not to imitate the whoever the mentor is that you want to pick up, or whatever the story on the Instagram is. None of those things. It's whatever drives you, whatever makes you feel passionate, whatever makes you feel the sunshine in your soul.
Yeah.
So warm that you know when you're in that place, whatever you're doing, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking. And meditation, don't live without meditation. Prayer and meditation are so critical.
Yeah.
I every single day incorporate that. Those are my basics: exercise, healthy eating, environment, meditation, all of those, and then allowing yourself to really thrive in that, and telling yourself that it's okay to do these things as you're going through your journey. Your journey's your journey.
Yeah.
And not being afraid of the pain.
Yeah.
I think too many people are really afraid of pain.
Right.
They don't want to feel it. They don't want to see it. They don't want the obstacles. But I have found in my 42 years that the best experiences I've ever had are the ones that have included a lot of pain. And they were not the ones that were completely pain-free, but they were the ones that were the hardest journeys, are the most valued at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't be afraid of those things. So challenges, right? Challenge yourself. Discipline.
And we know that you have a book, and I'm pretty sure it's called Fearless Dating, I think, right?
Yes, wrote that many years ago when I was
And I was
young.
just kind of wondering, what's the creative process that you had when making that book?
So that book was years in the making, when we were young and dating and really naive on the idea of exciting times. But I think that the creative process is finding what statement, what legacy, what voice you want to have and what you want to say. That's the most important thing you're gonna find when you want to write something. As simple as writing an Instagram post, as simple as writing a LinkedIn story, whatever it's going to be. What is the message? What is the legacy? What is the statement? How are you connecting to another? So whether it's a dating book, whether it's an empowerment book, whether it's an Instagram post, what is it? So when you're creatively thinking about that, write down your goals for it. Write down, what is the message? What is the one clear message? Sometimes I think of 3 words. Right? So if you were to think, what are the 3 words that I have for myself? What is the message for myself? Empower, connect, inspire. Those are my 3. My entire mission of my life is to empower, connect, and inspire. Anything I do, if it involves that, whether it's connecting for myself, with myself, if it's connecting to another, if it's inspiring myself, if it's inspiring another, if those 3 things, the empowerment, right, with all those things, whether it's in my cycle studio or whether it's empowering through the 40 over 40, whatever it is, right? Whatever your connection points are, find those 3 things and focus. Because when you get super focused, all of that creative process is going to just come to you, and just start writing. And you're going to have to rewrite and rewrite and rewrite, because that book took 4 years. That was not an easy process.
For you, that's usually known as the big question. So, you ready?
Ready.
You is, what advice would you give to a younger generation?
Oh, I think be yourself. Absolutely be yourself. We need more authentic people in the world.
Yeah.
And the dialogue that you're creating, if it's around vulnerability, authenticity, and acceptance, bingo. we need to shift in a major way where no longer do you feel afraid to be who you're going to be, to be known for what you want to be known for, to embody the space you want to take. Whatever that space is, don't be afraid to take it. That space is given to you divinely. It's your right to take your space. And when we create vulnerability in dialogue, it lets other people feel vulnerable as well. And then they want to say, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm okay with this as well. Maybe I'm okay not having to follow the cookie cutter model anymore. Maybe I'm okay with going in this direction versus that direction. And maybe you just open that dialogue up. And maybe you're alone in some of those feelings. And be okay learning to be alone, but not lonely.
Yeah.
There's a very important part there. On my 42nd birthday was the first time I had ever been alone for Christmas, my birthday, and New Year's. And I was completely alone, but I was not lonely. And that was the first time in 42 years that I was able to choose to be alone.
Yeah.
And I was choosing it in a sense that I was showing myself that I'm much more powerful than I realize.
Yeah.
I don't need another to show me that I am okay, that I am great, that I am wonderful, that I am valued, that the space that I take is important. Who you are is so important. And don't ever underestimate the dent you're making in the universe. There's too many people that don't realize that even your dent that you're making in the universe, if it wasn't there, there would be a void. Right. You're here to do something powerful. And within your universe, that is power.
Right.
And I would say, don't be afraid to take that space.
Well, we just want to thank you so much for taking the time for meeting with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, you guys.
That's all we have for you guys on the Three Peaks podcast. We'll see you guys on the trail next time.